Okay, the last section is communicating in, romantic relationships. This is a picture of my husband and I right after we got married 33 and a half years ago. Yeah, I got married when I was 6. Okay, so let's take a look at one of my favorite parts of, well, there are two parts of the chapter that I really like. This one is based on the work of Professor Robert Sternberg, who used to work in Yale. And he has his idea of 3 different components that go into romantic relationships. And we'll start at the top of this triangle. The intimacy, which is like closeness, connectedness, liking somebody. And this is what he calls the warm part of a relationship. On the bottom, the left-hand corner is passion. That's the physical attraction, emotional arousal. That's the hot part of the relationship. And on the right-hand corner is commitment, your decision to maintain the relationship, and that is the cool aspect of the relationship. And he says, okay, if you just have one of those, right? If you just have intimacy, you like the person, you enjoy spending time with them. If it's only passion, that's infatuation. If it's just commitment, he sees that as empty love. So on the right-hand side, if you like someone and you're committed to them, they call that companionate love. If on the left-hand side, if you like someone and you're infatuated and you're passionate about someone, that's the romantic love. The one on the bottom, I don't really get. You're passionate about someone and you're committed to them, but you don't really feel close to them. That's called fatuous love. I can't think of an example of that. So if anyone can, please share it with the class. If you have all 3 of those components, that's called consummate love. And I would say in any relationship, you don't always have all 3 components. I mean, like, my husband's sleeping. Sometimes I don't like him very much. Sometimes I like him a lot and I feel like I'm out of here. So I won't talk about passion. That is just too much. Okay. So diving in a little bit to commitment. The idea, where are my notes? We in the United States tend to feel that you fall in love with someone, you decide, you spend a lot of time together, you feel that you have the strong commitment, and so then, you get married, you move in together. In other cultures, they, especially ones that have arranged marriages, they believe that first comes the commitment. You have made this commitment that you're going to be with someone, and the more time you spend together, then you can fall in love with them. And what they say is, the behaviors that we have to show that we're committed are important, but we need language. And on page 314, there's a table that shows indicators of commitment in romantic relationships, providing affection or support, sharing companionship, creating a relational future, reassuring one's commitment. So take a look at those and see if they make sense to you, that you see them in romantic relationships. The next one is affection, and this one was fascinating to me. They did a study where they asked people who were together, whether they were married or just in a committed relationship, and they told them for 6 weeks to increase the amount of kissing that they did. And what they found was that they had a control group that said, just kiss the way you usually do. Frequent kissers experienced improvement not only in their stress levels and relational satisfaction, but also in their cholesterol counts. So this is important for our physical health. So sometimes, because that expressing affection is important, even if you don't feel very loving towards someone, you might give them a hug or you might say, I love you. And so that's important in a relationship. It's not dishonest. So, because basically talking about feelings, sharing that can lead to romantic feelings rather than romantic feelings leading to more sharing. I think it's really a circle. And sexual activity is important, and there needs to be, I get really uncomfortable talking about this one. There should be, you talk about things, was this good for you kind of thing. Okay, now I'm really embarrassed and I'm blushing and I'm glad you can't see me. So we'll move on to the next topic, which is seriously my favorite part of this. So Gary Chapman is a social scientist, and he has spent a lot of time studying people in romantic relationships. I maintain that this, with no proof except my own experience, that this is not just in romantic relationships. This works for friendships. This works for family relationships. And his idea is we have something called love languages. And this is what we think counts as love. And so there are 5 of them. Words of affirmation would be complimenting someone, praising them, putting a little note in someone's lunch bag, just saying I love you. The next one is quality time, which is not just, sitting together on the couch watching Lord of the Rings, which we just did, but actually doing things together, that's meaningful for both of you. The third one is gifts. And it doesn't have to be, look, I bought you a diamond necklace. It could be something like, I know that you love daffodils, so I got some bulbs that we're going to plant. So every year they will come up. The fourth one is acts of service, which could be, I always say, if I love you, you will have clean clothes that are washed and folded. Or it could be, I vacuum the car for you. And then the last one is physical touch. So we each probably have more than one of these. But so my big thing would be acts of service. And my husband's primary one, I think, would be, let's say, words of affirmation. So this has caused arguments because he's saying, oh, I love you so much. You're so wonderful. And I'm saying, yeah. What can you do for me? And he's saying, I'm always telling you how much you love me. And you never do. You never tell me that. Okay, never, right? In an argument. And I'm thinking, what do you mean? Of course I love you. Look at all these things that I do for you. So you can see how this can cause problems in a relationship. And I think it's important for people to sit down and talk about this, to say, look, there are so many ways that you can let me know that you love and care for me. This is what's important for me. And then negotiate how you're going to, you'll put up with, all right, I'll take a couple gifts. If every once in a while you'll give me a hug. Okay, so I have at the bottom which category is most important to you. All right, the last aspect of this chapter has to do with digital communication and the idea of how much social media impacts a relationship. And I thought it was, it frustrates me when I'm talking to somebody in my family, my husband and my 2 children, and they're on the phone and they're scrolling through, who knows, Reddit or tweets, or my husband's looking at news from his home country. And I find that the idea that you should be present for the person that you're with. And of course I do the same thing to them. So I think this is something we all need to work on. It can be very distracting, but as you've come to realize during using mediated communication, using social media, can be a very helpful way to maintain relationships. When you can't see someone, you can spend time with them. I think when my daughter went away to college, our relationship actually got a little bit stronger because when we were living in the same house, we didn't always take the time to talk to each other. But when she moved away, and we wanted to keep in touch, so we would text, and when we even texted some things that were maybe difficult to say. So I thought it was really interesting. On page 318, they have the dark side of communication, and they talk about being virtually unfaithful, meaning you flirting with someone online. And what they're saying is, even though it might seem like it's no big deal, probably to your partner, it is a big deal that you've been flirting online. Okay, so they have a final note about romantic relationship, and they're saying that there are people who have chosen to be single, which I guess they're implying that if you're single, you're not having any romantic relationships, and that people who are single tend to have stronger connection or more. Let's see. Single people lead richer relational lives. They were more likely than people who were married to stay in touch with, provide help to, and receive help from parents, siblings, neighbors, and friends. And I wonder if it's because we have this tendency to feel that our romantic partner needs to be everything. This was one of the videos that I posted for the last chapter, which was the marriage hack. And that puts a lot of pressure on that one person to be everything to another person. So maybe if you don't have that one person, you have 5 people. All right. That is it for chapter 5. 5. I'm still half asleep. And I'm going to get out of Kaltura if I can find it. All right. We will have the discussion soon.